what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a horror science fiction film, Beyond Reanimator Part 3. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with two children sitting inside a tent in their backyard. They are spooking each other with scary stories. One boy tells the other about a man who was found keeping chopped up human body parts in jars. He swears it's true because he heard the story from his sister. After hearing some strange noises, the two boys venture out into the dark backyard. They go inside the house and are surprised by the sister in the kitchen. Suddenly, a zombie with a wide-open mouth appears and attacks the sister. He chokes and slams her against the wall, instantly killing her. Fortunately, a cop arrives and apprehends the zombie. He also arrests the man responsible for creating the zombie. It's Herbert, who has been on a quest to discover the secrets of life and death for years now. The cop puts him inside the car. Herbert locks eyes with the young brother. Additionally, the brother finds a syringe filled with a glowing green serum. This is the reanimating substance that Herbert uses in his experiments. 13 years later, Herbert is still in prison. He's forced to resort to rudimentary experiments, using whatever scant resources he has while in jail. Still, he makes do by performing experiments on rats. Despite being imprisoned for more than a decade, Herbert is still sharp and acerbic. He regularly insults the sergeant, one of the prison guards in charge of him. One of the rats that Herbert captures is dear to the gang leader, staying a few cells away from Herbert. He asks Herbert about the rat, but as usual, the arrogant scientist gives him a flippant answer. That day, a new doctor named Howard arrives at the prison for his first day. The sergeant takes him to the dungeons, where the warden is in a meeting with a beautiful journalist named Laura, who's working on an article on the prison. Howard sees that Laura is uncomfortable with the warden's leering, so he steps inside the room and introduces himself. The warden remarks that he is curious why Howard would choose to work in prison when he graduated at the top of his class. The young doctor just replies that he's interested in institutional medicine. They go out into the yard, where most of the prisoners spend their time. Suddenly, a bald prisoner called Mr. Baldi collapses on the floor and convulses. He screams that he has to eat something, and then he loses consciousness. Howard springs into action and attempts to revive Mr. Baldi. He takes Mr. Baldi into the clinic, where Herbert happens to be assigned at the time. Unfortunately, the clinic has run out of medicines, so Herbert suggests a particular medicine. The nurse runs and gets it, but it's too late for Mr. Baldi. The nurse and the others clear out of the room, leaving Herbert and Howard alone. Howard reveals that he was the younger brother of the teenage girl killed by Herbert's zombie 13 years ago. He still has the serum that Herbert left behind that night. Herbert grabs it and injects it into the dead Mr. Baldi. At first, it doesn't seem to work, but eventually, Mr. Baldi is reanimated, but still remains bald. He begins to thrash around the room. The sergeant and another guard enter the clinic, and the latter gets bitten by the zombie. The warden also comes in with Laura, who has injured her ankle. Herbert and Howard lie, and say that the medicine they administered caused an adverse reaction in Mr. Baldi. The warden is suspicious of them, but lets it pass. He orders that Mr. Baldi be put in solitary confinement. He also cuts his interview with Laura short and institutes a prison lockdown. Later that day, Howard and Laura bump into each other in the parking lot. He offers to drive her home since her ankle is still swollen. They go to her apartment and have dinner. The two of them get to know each other, and there's a lot of chemistry between them. He shares that after he saw his sister die when he was a kid, he got inspired to be a doctor and save lives. He also tells her about Herbert's involvement in his sister's death. After this, the two spend a smelly hormone night together. The next morning, Mr. Baldi is growing wilder inside his cell. Howard reports his condition to Herbert, who's busy enjoying the new equipment he now has access to through Howard's clinic. Herbert suggests that they use Mr. Baldi as a subject for their experiment. Howard is uncomfortable with the unethical ramifications of Herbert's experiments, but he is drawn to the allure of Herbert's work. Meanwhile, Laura goes back to the prison and convinces the warden to let her finish her interview. He is entranced by her beauty and he agrees. Herbert uses a dead rat and injects it with his serum. He also tests a new theory. They can extract the energy from a living organism and use it to restore the dead along with the serum. The energy will prevent the deterioration experienced by Herbert's previous subjects and will make them look as close to alive as possible. The rat comes back to life and acts like before. He takes it and returns it to the gang leader, who was angry about his rat's disappearance. It turns out, Laura is intrigued by Mr. Baldi's mysterious health condition. She bribes the sergeant to let her inside Mr. Baldi's cell, so she can find out how he came back to life. At this point, Mr. Baldi is ravenous, and he attempts to bite Laura because she's too hairy. The warden comes inside the cell and is the one bitten instead. Mr. Baldi flees the room and runs outside into the prison. The warden is now alone with Laura, and he tries to force his hormones on her, but she resists and he kills her. The sergeant summons Howard to the clinic and shows him Laura's dead body. He tells the doctor that it was Mr. Baldi who killed her. Howard screams in grief, and this is how Herbert convinces him to use the serum to reanimate Laura. Not able to bear the loss of his lover, Howard agrees. Laura comes back to life, but she just howls instead of speaking. Meanwhile, Mr. Baldi tries to eat a hairy rat. This causes a commotion involving the gang leader and the sergeant. The warden discovers the secret laboratory that Herbert and Howard created. Laura sees him and she screams in fear, since she remembers that it was the warden who killed her. The warden is shocked because he thought he killed her already. Herbert comes up behind the warden and knocks him out. He realizes that he can use the warden's energy and transplant it to Laura, so she will go back to being a normal human. They strap the warden to the table and electrocute him. Howard initially complains, since what they're doing is unethical, but Herbert keeps electrocuting the warden. A full-scale riot has now broken out in the prison. Inmates escape from their cells, and all hell breaks loose. The rat that Herbert reanimated earlier bites a prisoner and starts infecting him. On the other side, they transfer the energy to Laura and restore her humanity. She doesn't remember what happened, and when Herbert reveals that she died, she suddenly rears back and convulses. Her body is trying to revert to its zombie form, but the transplanted energy prevails, and she remains human. But she is confused and she runs away scared. When Laura steps out of the clinic, her body starts convulsing again. This implies that she can still go back to being a zombie. Suddenly, the gang leader appears and takes Laura away. Howard gets separated from her as the other authorities inside the prison evacuate him. The gang leader chases Laura to the dungeons underneath the prison. She loses control and turns into a ravenous zombie with the warden's personality. While the riot is still going on, Herbert takes this opportunity to run one more experiment on the warden, who's still strapped to the table. He injects the warden with the serum, and he begins to turn into a zombie. He then bids the warden goodbye and hints that he will be escaping the prison soon. At this point, the prisoners are now setting fires around the prison and breaking glass all around. Violence also ensues as they fight each other. More police reinforcements come and they enter the prison. Howard, who's determined to get to Laura, dashes inside with the police. The warden reawakens. It turns out, Herbert harvested the infected rat's energy and transferred it to him. This causes the warden to take on some rat-like traits. He walks outside into the chaos and distributes vials of the glowing green serum to the prisoners. Some of them inject it into themselves, and soon enough, the virus is spreading through the prison. Meanwhile, the warden finds Laura cowering in the dungeons. There's blood all over her clothes, and the dead body of the gang leader is beside her. It appears that she killed him in her zombie state. The sergeant is also a zombie now and helps the warden punish some prisoners by hanging them from the ceiling. The warden attempts to force himself on the scared Laura once again, but she turns feral and bites off his smelly sausage. Howard finds her there. She begs him to stop her suffering, but seconds later, she turns once again. Her eyes turn red, and she beats Howard with a stick. Howard eventually overpowers her, but she cries and begs him not to hurt her. Howard gets deceived by this act, and Laura overpowers him too. Herbert sees some prisoners who have turned crazy because of the serum. They ate each other, and one of them is still alive while looking like a pile of bones. The prisoner is still able to talk, and he begs Herbert for one more hit of the serum because he's now addicted. Herbert heads to the dungeon next and is surprised to see what the warden has transformed into. The gang leader, who is resurrected as well, flies to Herbert since his chest and head were severed from the rest of his body. Herbert easily dispatches the gang leader, but he faces off with the warden. Laura gets Howard in a chokehold. She momentarily turns human once again and begs Howard to kill her so she won't hurt him. Howard grabs the knife nearby and slices Laura's throat. After a short fight, Herbert forced the warden to the electric chair. He electrocutes him once again, but this time he increases the voltage so much that the warden's skin peels off and his bones are now showing. Herbert finds Howard in a stupor. He's sitting on the floor, cradling Laura's head in his lap. He had no choice but to decapitate her head. Lost in his grief, he keeps calling her his sister's name. Ever since he was a young boy, he was haunted by the fact that he was so helpless when his sister got killed. The very reason he became a doctor was so he could save lives. And now, despite his knowledge and skills, he's still helpless as he loses another woman he loves. In his head, he failed to save his sister once again. Herbert almost comforts Howard, but he seems to realize that the young man has already gone mad. So he just stealthily grabs Howard's ID card and leaves the dungeon without another word. The police finally arrive, and they extricate Laura's decapitated head from Howard. The young doctor insists that he saved her. As one of the officers holds Laura's head in his hand, she wakes up again and gives Howard a sinister smile. She cackles maniacally, and Howard cackles too. On the other side, Herbert uses Howard's ID to leave the prison. The sergeant sees him leave, but since he is a deranged zombie now, he does not say anything. Herbert hears Howard's and Laura's laughter coming from the dungeon. He momentarily pauses. The movie ends with them walking outside into the night and disappearing into thin air. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.